Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit TRE.radio.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
It is Tuesday, the 24th of February. Welcome to Viewpoint, Talk Radio Europe's phone-in discussion show with a panel of invited guests where we go through the issues of the day with you for the next 2 hours, Mass or Menace, of course. The main stories we will be looking at today, we'll look at the front pages in a minute, but obviously we'll be discussing Andrew, Mountbatten Windsor, looking at the latest developments of the arrest of Mandelson, of course, as well, Lord Mandelson, and looking at 4 years of war in Ukraine, believe it or not, plus other things that are crossing the radar. If you've got something you want to get off your chest, it can be local, national or international, then these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
So let's have a look at this morning's pages. The Financial Times leads on Lord Mandelson's arrest, calling it an epic fall from grace for Britain's former ambassador to the US. His detainment is following revelations in the Epstein files. It's also the lead in The Guardian. The eye leads on how his arrest has sparked jeopardy inside number 10. Telegraph says the Prime Minister is facing the defining moment of his premiership. The pressure on Downing Street, also the front of The Sun. The Mail describes the former minister as looking ashen-faced and flanked by detectives at the moment of his arrest. That's also on the cover of The Mirror. Times says Mandelson's arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office is an offence that carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. In other news, the Metro leads on the 4-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine as Zelensky warns World War III has already started. The Express claims Britain's most famous jihadi bride is planning to pay people smugglers to help her return to Britain, while baby Hugo, the first child in the UK born using the womb of a dead donor, is on the front of the Star. And those are your headlines this morning if you want to get involved.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
And I'm joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo. Good morning to you, Andres.
Good morning, Giles. Good morning.
And live from London, of course, Rex Leyland. Good morning to you, Rex.
Good morning, Giles. Good morning, Spain. How is the sunshine?
Yes, we do. Well, we could have done with your boat, I think, a few weeks ago. That would have been...
That, I believe. I saw the inundation. Incredible inundation for an area of the world that is not particularly prepared for such an inundation. Yeah, would you agree?
Well, absolutely. In places like Graz Salemba and all Jerez area.
But the inside lining of all that is you've got 5 years of fresh drinking water.
There you go.
Indeed.
Is that right? The reservoirs are full.
Yeah, completely full, Rex.
Are they overflowing? Overflowing?
Just to tell you, Rex, when I was told last night that you were going to be in the programme, that pushed me this morning I had a good shave, I had my best clothes on and everything, and I turned up here and said, where is Rex? I said, he's on the phone. I said, so all that effort to look good for you, Rex, and
listen, you are so flattering, and you know what? It just makes my day. It really does.
Right, well, let's, if you want to get involved with the show, 952 78 4000. So let's go to the main story, of course, which is the continuous situation in London or in the UK. We already had the groundbreaking arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor last week, and obviously breaking over yesterday was also the arrest of Lord Mandelson. This is as a result of, it's not a direct result of the Epstein files, but it's certainly a result of the information that's coming out about the trading links. Rex, what are you seeing over there in London? It is quite something, isn't it?
I think it's verging on the unbelievable. It's like a horror movie. It's like a badly made Hammer House of horror movies. It's the only one of the only things that I can identify at the moment is that we as a country, the United Kingdom, it seems that no one's allowed to get away with anything, which is rather a good thing. Looking at the Epstein affair, and you see what's going on here in the UK, and you see what's not going on in America. No one's been sort of brought to account. All these names appear in the files, and yet in America, nobody has, unless I'm wrong, I may have missed something, but no one's been sort of legally identified as yet. And here we are, picking off members of the royal family, ex-members of government, and putting them in the pillory. You couldn't make it up. You could not make it up. And I think the most erroneous point is on the part of our Prime Minister and his lack of judgment. At the end of the day, he made the decision to reappoint Mandelson, the comeback kid. How many times has he come back? What I didn't realize that Mandelson was such an influential politician. That's what I realized watching the news last night. Or, the summary of his life. It was on some program. I mean, he's been and gone so many times, and yet his influence is massive. That's my immediate take-up, Giles.
Well, I mean, he was always known as sort of the comeback kid, wasn't he? He came back from several situations. Three times, yeah. But it was never as serious as these two. What we're seeing at the moment. Obviously, the photographs that have appeared with him, and staying in Epstein's place in Paris, and the loan to his husband, etc. But this whole situation of basically, letting the disgraced financier have what is insider information.
But what it is also, it's the intoxication of our politicians over the last however many years Mandel's been hanging around in the corridors of power, that they have accepted his massive influence whilst at the same time, perhaps turning a blind eye.
Andreas, what's your take on this? Because Mandelson, and thank you very much. He's no longer a lord. He was a peer. He's no longer a peer. Thank you, Richard. But also the shattering news that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It was everywhere in the press around Europe. I mean, it makes some of the previous royal scandals that we've seen in Spain and around Europe look like small beer, doesn't it?
You've got the royal side of things, which I look at the situation with Andrew, and I'm thinking, what was the royal family so involved in the trade business, which it's part of the diplomatic nature of the royals is to promote business abroad and everything else, which is that's absolutely fine. But from there to take the step of sharing information with a third party, whether it was Epstein or anyone else, what on earth was he doing that? I mean, he would have known that there must be something wrong to it. Although to convict someone on the basis of that, because of the nature of common law in the UK, could be quite tricky. So we are seeing all these, but to see a conviction, because as you know, common law works on the basis that you have to prove that the the intent of damage was in the action. It seems quite complicated. When I read about it and I learned about it, it's not as clear cut as a written law, where have you broken it or you haven't. In common law, there's a lot of grey area, which incidentally Parliament has been trying for years to try to sort of legislate on that front. So from here to see a conviction, I think it's still a long way to go. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but there is lawyers are going to sort of make a case for the defence of there was no intention or no damage was done, which is what they have to demonstrate. The Crown has to demonstrate that. So that's going to be complicated. But for the royals to be involved in something like that, it's a bit ridiculous. But now, if you look at the scandals that we have with royal families all around Europe, Norway, they are in dire straits there with this kid, the son.
He's the stepson, isn't he?
He's the stepson of the prince who will eventually become king. We say it's a stepson. This kid was brought up in the royal household. He was 4 years old when he joined the household, but he's on trial for rape, for driving under the influence, drugs, all sorts of things. So nice kid. So they've got the troubles. The mother was involved it appears in the Epstein files. The Belgian royal family have got their illegitimate children and corruption scandals and everything else surrounded them.
You're making me feel much better.
Needless to say, in Spain we see King Juan Carlos, with all the extramarital...
His ongoing baggage,
these extramarital things, the getting money from, left, right and centre on commissions or whatever, or presents as he calls it, not paying the taxes and all that money. So it's going on and on and on, and all is happening with the royal family. So my question is, there's strong case now for these countries to be looking at the possibility of becoming a republic. I don't think it's a solution, because if you go on to what model of republic will they want? A representative republic like in Italy, or the model of the French Republic? There are different models of republic, so we have to be clear on what we are following, or we are pursuing. So we've got all that situation with royal families. Now the question is, has this always been happening, or is it we know more about it now because there is a lift of the press, more free to report on these kind of things, where years ago was all a little bit...
Right, social media is the big insert in this one, isn't it? It opens up everything to everybody. Whereas years ago, you had to wait for the morning... the paper boy to deliver the paper to see the news.
I think the other thing is, Rex, is because it's the press or whatever are no longer deferential. I mean, back in the UK, the royal family are saying, "Oh well, we wish to be a modern family, and we wish to be more approachable, etc." And that's a double. You can have that, but if you do have that, when you've got a member of the royal family who perhaps isn't behaving in the best interests, then you're going to get this sort of reaction. You can't have the proverbial royal cake and eat it. And I ask the question: these are not sort of poor individuals. I'm still trying to get my head around what the attraction of Epstein was for both, and why they would offer this information.
I think that they're all separate topics. I mean, Epstein is a monster topic. But just going back to the royal situation, of course, Andrew got away with everything because undoubtedly he was the Queen's favourite. Andrew also lacked charm. They call him oafish in his behaviour, arrogant. And I think that goes for anybody in the world. If you conduct yourself in a certain manner, inevitably you will draw criticism and comment, but he got away with it because the Queen, allegedly, he was the Queen's favourite. Now, for example, I have friends, acquaintances, whatever, who have mixed with certain members of the royal family, and they are all utterly charming. I've met Princess Anne. You couldn't wish to meet a more agreeable person. I think partly because of Her late Majesty departing us, this has sort of slightly left the door ajar, which has now been blown open. And if Andrew did misbehave and share secrets, then it needs to be addressed. Conversely, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Edward, is an absolute gentleman, an absolute star, hardworking and devoted. I think William's plan is to scale down the monarchy eventually. I don't know whether that'll be in our lifetime, but and with regards to going towards the republic idea, I think that would be disastrous, and it would be heartbreaking for the United Kingdom. Well, absolutely heartbreaking. 1,000 years down the drain.
So Rex, you think that just by isolating Andrew and making him responsible for what he did, that exonerates the rest of the royal family, and they should probably. So that's the route that you would take.
Because they're not really. They're all behaving. They're working hard. I don't think you can say a bad word about anybody else, particularly at the moment.
At the moment. But who knows? Let's have a look at some of the messages coming in. That's right, Rex. It's all Starmer's fault. Quite amazing how much damage Labour has done in 18 months. I'm assuming they'll be blamed for World War II. Complicated? Impossible, you mean, Andres? There's no need for them to be a republic. Unlike the Royal British family, they have slimmed to Spain, presumably, slimmed down versions at a fraction of the cost, and agreeable, laugh out loud. You've been described as a cap-doffing royalist here, Rex, just to let you know.
I've always been a monarchist, always been a royalist. I'm not ashamed to admit that.
Marvellous. And this one, I'm not sure who it's from, it says, I guess Andreas would like an Islamic Republic.
Islamic Republic?
An Islamic Republic.
Oh, God forbid.
Oh, God.
All right, let's go. I've got a.
How can you make a comment like that?
There is. I think we just have to go on the Mandelson situation. Having just now discussed the royal aspect, I think we need to discuss the Mandelson situation in relation to this government and what this government are doing. And as one of your listeners correctly pointed out, 18 months of sheer destruction. I mean, Starmer cannot last too much longer. I mean, he made the decision. All these decisions, eventually, the buck stops with him. And the Mandelson decision demonstrates Starmer's serious lack of judgment. And a price will have to be paid. I'm sorry, but it can't go on. I mean, we're a laughing stock. We're a laughing stock around the world, and it's got to end.
Yeah, Rex, but if you think at the time, you have to have a time sensitive thing. When he was appointed as the ambassador of the United States, the general consent, that's before we knew all about Epstein relationship and everything. The general public, I'm saying, not Starmer or the government, but the consensus was that he could be a good ambassador for the UK and the United States because he had been a trade envoy or trade minister.
And a good one at that. A good one.
And also he was a good negotiator. So the idea was that he would fit in well with the Trump administration and he could do a good job. That was the consensus at the time. So let's not take that away from it. Of course, that's all gone pear-shaped now, and we know why, and rightly so. But let's not forget that at the time, the consensus was that it was a good appointment.
It was one of the reasons. He could deal with Trump because he had dealings with him before, and Trump sort of got on with him. That was the sort of
that was the whole idea. Whether Starmer knew about the relationship with Epstein before he appointed him, that's what is not clear. And if it is clear, he made a big mistake. But he's made so many mistakes since he came to power, Starmer. I said it before. I mean, my first reaction when he won the election to say things are going to get worse now until they get better on the day of celebration of the winning of the election. I mean, for me, I was flabbergasted to see that someone could say something like that instead of saying we've won now, we can carry out a plan to improve all things in all aspects and blah, blah, blah. But the whole thing was, to me, a message to say, we haven't got a plan. We don't know what we're going to do, and this is going to be a disaster. And from that moment onwards, that prediction is what actually happened with his government, and it's not getting any better now.
The problem is, though, there has been no sort of moment where he stands up and has a sort of Churchillian speech where he goes, right, this is where we go. He tends to look even, increasingly sort of bewildered by what's going on. I mean, there's no sort of charismatic speech. I'm not saying he should stand out in the rain like Sunak and say whatever else, but he needs to say to the public, this is my vision, this is what is going on, because at the moment he is beset by enemies, and obviously if you are in opposition, it's a very easy target, Rex.
Yeah, but he's stumbling on a daily basis. And I will say that Kemi Badenoch, I mean, when she was elected as leader of the Conservative Party, I was very doubtful about the future of that party and thought it was an unusual choice. But now she has really come out, and she's showing her prowess, she's showing her ability, and of course she's being fed all these juicy bits that she can so correctly tear apart.
And we've got a phone call coming in, Rex, 952 78 4000. Morning, calling live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Morning, Giles. It's Gary here.
Good morning, Gary. How are you, sir?
Morning, the rest of you gentlemen there. Am I the only one that's thinking of the elephant in the room that's been very quiet, that no one's mentioning?
Which particular?
Mr. Blair.
Oh yes.
Where's our Tony? Is he not involved in this? The man Mendelsohn was a reptile. He always was. He put back the Northern Ireland peace process, or at least delayed it somewhat in a different manner when he went there, and the Unionists decided didn't really want to deal with him due to his lifestyle. But some people would say that's neither here nor there. But it's one big cover-up, gentlemen. Don't tell me that this day and age that people don't know what these people are like. I've actually had personal dealings as well with Prince Andrew, and the bloke is an idiot. He's an upper-class toff, idiot, arrogant, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But we all knew that, didn't we?
Well, of course. I mean, he was always Air Mars Andy, wasn't he, etc., and they gave him the job to sort of keep him out of harm's way. Unfortunately, that sort of backfired somewhat.
But as I say, it's don't tell me half of this wasn't known. I'm not a great one for conspiracy theories, but it's just a joke. But as I say, I'm just keeping my ear open for Mr. Blair and some of these apologists that's been on this radio show, being these security guards, etc. But there you go.
As always, Gary, thank you very much for your call in there. Going to a quick break and then back with more Viewpoint.
Talk Radio Europe.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
And welcome back to Viewpoint. Always live, always lively. Got an email just come in on studio@tre.radio. Good morning. As a friend of Rex Leyland from London, who reports on the Maxwell-Epstein affair in the print and broadcast media, this is Matthew Steeples, Rex. I must agree with him that he's right to point out that the British handling of the arrests of the players in the saga has been far better than that of their American counterparts. As someone who myself features in the latest files list released as an FBI reference point for the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, I call for further transparency. The remaining 3.8 million files should now be released, and justice must be allowed to run its course with both Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Peter Mandelson. There should be no more cover-ups and no more protection of powerful elites. Going forward, Sir Keir Starmer's questionable judgment is proof further that he must simply go, whilst King Charles must slim down the monarchy finally. That's from Matthew Steeples. So thank you for that.
Matthew is a journalist, podcaster, etc., and he follows particular stories in the news that fall by the wayside, or where he feels there's been a misjudgment or a should we just say a misinterpretation?
And somebody else who follows the news is my next caller. Good morning to you, caller. You're live on TRE.
Good morning, Giles. South.
Morning, Alf.
I just thought I'd respond to the hi Rex and hi Andreas.
Good morning, Alf.
Good morning.
Yeah. And it's really warm here, isn't it, for a change? No rain. Oh, blimey. And the reservoirs might be full up, but it's when they say they have to empty them, and you go, what? You've just filled them up, and now you've got to empty them for safety reasons. Well, there's a first. Anyway.
What do you mean there's a first? What kind of comment is that?
Huh?
What kind of comment is that? If they're full and they have to release water, that's what happens.
Yeah, well, there's an old dam up at the back of, I think, is it up near Rhondda? And they've got to keep an eye on it. They shut down 3 villages because they thought that the dam might break or whatever and flood the villages. So they had to empty out 3 villages. 400-500 people.
So, from
unbelievable.
Anyway,
So, and people I think people don't quite get the point. The point with Mandelson and whatever his name is, the royal guy, the fat royal guy,
and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, you mean?
Yeah, I can't say all those words, and they're wrong anyway. It's surprising he hasn't got 14 other names to associate himself with royalty anyway.
Just say Air Miles Andy, Randy Andy.
Air Miles Andy, no. And that's the other thing. I don't like Gary tends to. Is I tend not to try and call people names because I think it's belittling and stupid. You know, you say it as it is. His name is Andrew. If he was a normal bloke in a normal world like me, I'm called Alf. He's called Andy. I'm not sure why you have to pronounce all of his surname, but that's another issue. Anyway, to get to the point, no arrests and. I was asked this question the other day, and it's called. So why is it that there's been arrests in the UK? You know, there's Mandelson now, and there's Epstein, and there's Andrew been arrested. Why no arrests in the USA? And you go, because in the USA they're not looking for people giving away state secrets. Mandelson and Andrew are being done for giving away, technically, allegedly, giving away state secrets. That's why there's no movement in America for arresting people and all that, because they're still going through their investigation, whether you like it or not. What is it they said? They've still got another 3 million documents that have got to be released. They're still going through their investigations, and this isn't just a police thing, it's the Criminal Justice Committee, it's the State Senate, it's a whole pile of people looking at this stuff in a different way. And they keep going about, well, what about Trump? Well, Trump has been mentioned, was it more times than anybody else in the Epstein files? And you go, how do you know that? The only people who know that are the people who have been able to read all the files, because everything's been redacted, which I find ridiculous. So, there's no arrests in America because they're not dealing with leaking state secrets. And if Mandelson and Andrew both did that, that's called treason, isn't it? And if it's treason, especially as a royalist with treason, they used to hang them, didn't they? Hang them, draw them, quarter them, and whatever, because they were. That's how the Civil War was constructed, over chopping people's heads off and that. So that's why there's nothing happening in America. I don't think you will hear anything about arrests in America for maybe another 2 years. So this isn't a fast one. And also for Gary's benefit...
Alf, do you think Trump is involved in any way, shape or form?
I think the question is,
past with his relationship.
Who do you think isn't involved?
I mean, it seems that the whole world...
Gary said it. He goes, the elephant in the room hasn't been mentioned, Blair. And you go, so why would Blair be mentioned as part of any of that? Because Mandelson was part of the Labour Party, yes, but before Blair, by the way. I keep on telling people this. Kinnock recruited Mandelson to the Labour team. He worked under John Smith, but in a lesser role. And when Blair and Brown, and I say Blair and Brown because technically they worked as a pair, came to office, he was an advisor to them. And that went through the early stages of the government. But as soon as he was found out to take that loan to pay a mortgage and not tell the building society, whoever it was, they threw him out of office. After he was thrown out of office, when Gordon Brown then became the Prime Minister, we had an issue with trade. So, and as Rex quite rightly said, and others, he was the biggest manipulator probably in the world outside of the United States for trade negotiations. So, of course he brought him back. Gordon Brown brought him back. So, is Brown responsible for all this stuff? No, of course he's not. And then because Starmer doesn't, and it's not true that he didn't know that there was an association with Epstein. Of course Starmer knew. He's admitted that he knew, but they didn't know the extent to which he was locked in with Epstein.
Yeah,
and it was the lies that Mandelson told afterwards to say, oh no, I've distanced myself, I don't see him, I don't talk to him, and then all these emails pop up that say, yes, you did like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But who knew that? So you can't roll them. And there's the elephant. And by the way, Gary, I was never a security guard. I wasn't a policeman. I worked for the Labour Party, and part of my responsibility was to make sure that when we had people of esteem, in my version,
yes.
So whether it was the Home Secretary or the Shadow Home Secretary, whoever they were, if they were Labour Party people doing events on behalf of the Labour Party, one of my jobs was to go in. I didn't protect them, but we were there to make sure that they weren't attacked.
One of the things, Alf, here, because you set up this whole thing about, with the files that are being released and those being charged in the States, because of the heinous nature of these alleged crimes, the child sex offence, you could argue that the reason that they are allegedly, the trade secrets have been they've been noticed for trade secret, is that maybe a way of getting rid of them without having to reveal all the other stuff that might come out because of the relationship with Epstein.
Absolutely, but isn't that the reason given for maybe why Epstein died in prison? Did he take his own life? Was he killed? Was that to kill off the files? No, he's dead. Believe me, Rex, he's dead. If he wasn't dead, there'd be a lot more going on than what we hear about, and it would be released by certain people. But was he?
He's a pastor in Tennessee.
This is like a mafia job, isn't it? Did he wake up in prison with an horse's head next to him?
Alf, what about the accusation of strangulation marks around Epstein's neck?
Listen, I wasn't in prison. I've never even visited a prison. I've visited the outside of a prison, but I visited the outside of a prison, but not to visit anybody I knew. But you just, So nobody really, only the people who really know, because they've put a lid on all of this stuff. And that's what's happening. The Epstein files, as they call them, they could easily release them all and say, go and fill your boots with this lot, people, because there's millions and millions of sheets of paper, there's hundreds of names, you don't know. Part of the problem as well is that you're trying to protect the people who the vulnerable people in the files, the people who were abused and all of that. It's really difficult to do. So when the police go, which they often do, we're carrying out an investigation. And then a judge says, right, this is sub judice. You can't talk about it in Parliament. You can't talk about it in the press. You can't talk about it in the media anywhere. You can't talk about finish. And some of these investigations, look at the thing with the post office. They have a public debate about it. It goes on for years, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And that's the same with these files. Until they get to the bottom and they're all released and somebody decides whether there's going to be a prosecution or not and what that prosecution is, it will always be, technically, sub judice. So you're never going to know the ins and outs of everything. And even when it's all released, you'll still never know the real ins and outs of everything, because you bet your bottom dollar that bits of the paper are missing and all that. And also, the misunderstanding. I forget which, was it Andreas or Rex? You said there was a consensus. Oh, it was you, Andreas. There was a consensus at the time about Mandelson being given the role of the American ambassador. There was no consensus. A consensus with who? A consensus is more than a person. Starmer appointed Mandelson to be the ambassador to America, and then what happened is they started attacking Mandelson. Okay. So Starmer had to defend the decision to make him the American ambassador. There was no consensus. There was no consensus in Parliament.
When I said consensus, the consensus was in the general public and the media thought that was a good appointment because of his trade record.
Well,
I'm not talking about
view.
Consensus. The general view.
That's a general view, but there was no consensus. I can't say honestly. And I was on the radio, and you were in the studio, and I phoned in and said, I'm not sure why Starmer has appointed Mandelson, because he's got some baggage.
Except for you.
So not everybody was saying this is a good appointment. I understood, and I would uphold Starmer's argument about why you appointed him.
It was understood in the general feeling, if you prefer those words, was that could have been a good appointment because of his trade record and his relationship with the Trump administration.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. There's no more to that. There's that's what it was at the time. Everyone thought, okay, that seems to be a reasonable appointment.
Absolutely.
Well,
couldn't agree more.
You break it up a little. That's what I said.
And I'm sure Rex would agree as well. The last point. It's nice to know. And has got dressed for the show for a change.
As always, thanks for your calls in there. Going to take a quick break and then back with more Viewpoint.
Talk Radio Europe. Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
Always lively, joined in the studio by the well-dressed Andres Gallardo and floating majestically on the Thames, Rex Leyland. If it's something national,
we are actually a little bit of water gossip. We are moored where the Thames is tidal. The tides stop at Richmond Lock, and we have not seen the riverbed. Even though the tide's out, we have not seen the riverbed for several months now, because when the tide goes out, we're just left with absolutely dry riverbed. So we sit on a cradle or in a cradle. It's called a camp shed. But now we have the water rushing down from the upper reaches, which is linked to the Thames barrier. So in other words, so we don't flood. So England doesn't flood upriver, let's say. They allow the water to run. So although the tide is out, it looks like the tide is in, but the water's rushing down towards the Thames Barrier and out into the sea. It is. We're all very different this year, all influenced by the weather.
Yes, indeed. And talking about dams and water, because suddenly it's a hot topic, believe it or not. The WhatsApps are coming flooding in here, pardon the pun.
Oh, that's a pun.
Yeah, hey, Tish Boom, here
Are you inundated?
We're inundated, but we're keeping our heads above. So, Gary, it's the, Alf history lessons, and it's the Monte Hache Embalse.
Yeah.
The bottom won't hold water. That's not Gary personally, that's the dam itself. Due to tunnels leaking water at the base. Andres is going to give us now. Brace yourselves.
That comment is absolutely correct. You know,
I'll just go and get a life ring.
That dam was built in 1921-22. The problem was that the rock underneath doesn't hold water any leaks.
It's porous.
It's porous, basically. So it never holds much water. That's why they call it the ghost dam. What's happened this year, because of all the excess of water that we've had, the unnatural excess of water, it's made the dam fill up, which is not the normal thing, because it never fills up. And that is, as a prevention, they had to evacuate some of the villages in the area because they haven't seen that situation before. You've never had so much water, and that's the situation with that one. The rest of the dams, when they reach certain level and they cannot hold anymore, they had to let the water go. I mean, it happened here in La Concepcion.
Yep.
And it makes you cry because, I mean, only a couple of years ago or a year ago, we had no water, and now to see all that water going into the sea, you think, oh no.
Yeah, well, I mean, having lived on that,
we had so little and now so much.
Having lived on that reservoir for 13 years, of course, right with the Casita, and I remember I'm looking at the history picture of my years there. At this time, it was all the way out, and now having to release it, got some more.
Can I ask you a quick technical question? With all this inundation and overflowing dams and what have you, can we assume that the desalination plant has been turned off?
Well, it's
being slightly
facetious.
No,
I'm being facetious.
Funnily enough, we are producing more desalinized water than ever, because that during the drought, all those works were hurried up, and then we produce more and more desalinized water. And apparently, the idea is that there will continuous expansion of desalinized water, because we don't want to find ourselves in 2-3 years' time that we're going through another drought, and then we have no provision to tackle it. So
I can only assume that the construction of a desalination plant is a darn sight cheaper than a new dam.
Funnily enough, apparently, to produce desalinized water is very, very expensive.
It is.
Now, because of all the energy that it needs to this desalination. And there are now all the plants turning to solar power because it's a way of making the production of clean water cheaper.
You see,
that's obvious.
I come onto these shows, not listeners, not knowing how on earth what experts we have in here, and we go from international whatever to desalination plants. But if they're doing everything via solar power, isn't that going to knock the grid out again, Andres?
Sorry, say it again.
If we do everything by renewables, isn't that going to knock the grid out again if we're not careful?
Oh, that's another problem.
Exactly. Let's go to some of the WhatsApps coming in, which of course.
Very quickly, Giles, what was the result of the outage last year? Do you have now? Has it been totally explained?
That is a very hot potato.
In a one-liner.
It hasn't been explained yet.
That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Right, to the WhatsApps we go, which, if you want to get involved, +34 645 99 67 95. Sam, only had to evacuate one village. I live up there. At the moment, keywords to everything these days. So, at the moment are keywords to everything. So, they're only being charged with this at the moment. Definitely with Rex, there's another one on the possibility of Epstein not being dead. There's so much money flying around, it's a big possibility. This is another one. I have never understood until now why the British establishment has so much trouble going after paedophile sex offenders. Going back to Maggie. Okay, fine, thank you very much. Meanwhile, this one in, which says, all right, I've got lots in. Richard has been beavering away. So, the British royal family add nothing to the UK. Steady Rex, not in monetary terms, as none of the current royal residences are either the top 20 free or paid UK attractions. The Palace of Versailles gains more visitors. The UK has been a laughingstock since 2016. Nobody complained about Mandy's appointment at the time. The only issue was his EU/China links. But like rats, they all come out after the event, falsely claiming they told us so. Powerful elites, how naive. The whole system is based on elitism. Apparently, Alf just reads the Morning Star. Meanwhile, reasonable appointment? No one tolerated the appointment. If one has a dam, then why not use the hydropower to desalinate, especially in periods of low demand of national electricity? I can't believe how much hydroelectric we've got going on here. And finally, Gary's come back. Does Alf think that Epstein is giving riding lessons on Sugar on Mars? Thank you very much for that, indeed. On another note, our Pantano is only on 70%. Okay, thank you for that. We have a poll running on Talk Radio Europe official's Facebook post. Do you think that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor will go to trial? 46% think he will. 54% think that he won't. Many think he might take the Juan Carlos option and head off to the Gulf states rather than.
Well, Fergie's gone. She's allegedly in Dubai, is she, or in a Gulf state?
Right.
Qatar?
Qatar. Possibly. I suppose it's an option for them. And
I just want to just add one more thing about Andrew, is that obviously it's difficult to feel sorry for him, but I do, in a small way, feel sorry for him. He has become his own victim, so to speak, but I think that he will be dealing with it. I don't know. Well, what I'm trying to say is I don't know how he's dealing with it. I mean, imagine if you were in that position. How would you deal with it? I mean, the fall from grace and everything, and to be arrested like that and shoved in the back of a car. Okay, you can say he deserves it, but I'm just looking from a humanistic point of view. Mm-hmm. I just, there is in me just a little bit of remorse that he is being really, really, really castigated. But I just feel as a human being that maybe it's a little bit strong. I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud.
Yeah, I mean, we applaud your empathy, but I mean, there's an awful lot of sort of self-denial. One might argue, because the way he has acquitted himself, has handled himself, and some of the, I mean, Andreas is shaking his well-coiffed head here at the moment.
It's not. It's very, very difficult, not to say impossible, to feel sorry for the guy. I mean, he dug his own grave. He consciously, in my opinion, knew that he was behaving badly, to say the least.
No, there's no question about that.
And I cannot sort of feel sorry. I mean, you feel sorry for other people, perhaps in different circumstances, but for Andrew, I'm sorry, but I can't find it.
We've all got friends who've come into contact.
Yes. I'm just looking at it from another perspective. That's all. I'm not trying to be saintly or anything. I'm just thinking aloud.
Yeah. Well, we respect the empathy on that, but we've all got friends who've come into contact with the royal family. Rex, we all had dealings with royalty over the years and whatever. And I was chatting with some friends who have worked out in the Middle East, in the Gulf states and Saudi and whatever, and they'd met various members of the royal family. And if there was a league table, it's fair to say that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is pretty much sort of down at the in the relegation zone, literally.
Right.
952-78-4000
is the phone number. Andres, you look like...
No, I was going to say, I mean, I've always, especially the years that I lived in the UK, I've always had a lot of respect for the reverence that British people have towards their royal family, but I've personally never liked them. The argument that they bring a lot to the country in terms of tourism and all that, I don't find it substantiated with figures and facts. Basically, I think it's a very costly to the taxpayer.
But you say that, and then you get the crowds at Sandringham on Christmas Day. Rex, we get we may say, oh, they're not bringing it to the country, but you look at these people who come from all over for celebrations, for jubilees, and though we might say, yeah.
People that come,
Andreas,
come from all over. What do you mean? What do they?
Andreas, you have.
They camp out for days to watch.
Well, listen, I may be wrong. I don't.
No. Do you have? Well, Andreas, a quick question. Do you have more respect for the Spanish royal family?
No, I don't.
Just wants an Islamic Republic.
The Borbones have been a disaster for this country. All of them.
But you have to go back in history and define monarchy. What is it that makes it so magnetic to so many people? And why do we get emotional when we hear the national anthem? Anybody from any country in the world should be emotional when they hear the national anthem, if they've got any pride.
Let's hold this, because the bongos, which aren't the national anthem of Viewpoint, are sounding. We will come back and discuss this after the national international news at the top of the hour. Right, going to the national international news. We'll see you after in about 5 or 6 minutes' time.
You're listening to Talk Radio Europe.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests.
Viewpoint. And welcome back, second half of Viewpoint, joined in the studio by the well-dressed Andres Gallardo and moored up on the Thames, floating merrily by our man in the UK, Rex Leyland. If you want to get involved. Sorry, Rex, what?
Woke Finder General.
Excuse me, of course, yes, Woke Finder General. We'll come on to that. If you've got something local, national or international that you want to get off your chest, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
And let's check out, I've got a poll running on Talk Radio Europe Official's post. Do you think Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor will go to trial? 48% think yes, 52% no. Robin has said if he does go to trial, it will be what he was arrested for, not the goings-on in the Epstein world of depravity. So those are the thoughts on that one. Looking at some of the WhatsApps coming in as well. Oh, come on, Rex. Andres is completely correct. There can be no compassion for this man. Meanwhile, the royal family do not add to the UK economy. Are you emotional of listening to that drab tune? The royal anthem? I think it should be Jerusalem, but there you go. Meanwhile, remember the abdicated Prince Edward. Okay, we're going back to the 36 and the abdication crisis. Then it was revealed later as he was governor of Bermuda, I think he was. He dealt.
Correct.
Thank you, Rex. He dealt.
That was a token placement, I think.
Yeah.
But if you compare, sorry to interrupt, Giles. If you compare what he did compared to what's going on now, it's hardly anything to discuss in comparison.
Well, I mean, that was the outrage because he was marrying an American divorcee, and that was public opinion. I mean, although later he would have very sort of, pro-German sympathies, as it were, because, that was Saxe-Coburg's a bit of a...
You cannot compare case to case, because if you compare it makes King Juan Carlos a saint. So you can't compare case to case. They're all wrong.
Right.
They're all wrong. They're all wrong, are they, Andres? Yeah, they're all wrong. And so, okay, this is you and the Islamic Republic. 952 78 4000 is the phone number.
Talking about Islamic republics, what are you thinking about Iran?
What am I thinking about Iran? In which? I mean, are we talking about?
Well, do you think that America are going to attack?
Well, I mean, put it this way: the largest aircraft carrier in the world sailed past.
It's gone through the Straits of Gibraltar, and it's off. It's right down in the Med now, isn't it? The bottom end.
Yeah, so that is. It's going back to a show of naval.
Did you wave to the carrier as it went through the Straits, Giles?
Strangely enough, no, I didn't wait.
Oh, that's a shame.
I know. But I was down having lunch a couple of weeks ago with some guys from the military base there in Rota. Good morning to you, gentlemen, if you are listening, who are in Treasury. They call it the finance department. Right. It's called Treasury, which was rather good fun. Right then, looking at some of the comments coming in, listening to Rex feeling. A bit sorry for Andrew. I've responded with a somewhat counter argument. I've since calmed down and deleted my diatribe. There you go. We've actually got people diatribing.
Oh dear.
And as Billy Connolly famously said, somebody has put in here, the UK national anthem should be the Archers theme tune. Dun dee dun dee dun dee dun dun. Yeah,
don't sing.
I will try not to sing on that one. Let's have a look at some other bits and pieces coming in, because we are marking 4 years since the start of the Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Who thought, this was the limited military operation, apparently, and still signs, and just shaking his head. Moscow's paying an extraordinary price for comparatively minimal gains, but officials believe it can sustain yet another year of war. I mean, this is 4 years ago when this was breaking, we sort of I remember driving down from the lake and thinking they'll be in Kyiv by lunchtime situation, and yet here we are, gentlemen and listeners, and it seems to be a war of attrition. There seems to be no sort of end in sight. I've got a call coming in, so I'll take this first. 952 78 4000. Morning call, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's the viewpoint, please?
Morning, Giles. It's Swansea Jack.
Good.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, my friend.
Yeah, I've just come in now and just caught the tail end of this. I think the royal family, I'm a great monarchist, Giles. Being Welsh, and I'm a great believer in the monarchy. But anyway, I think Andrew is doing a fantastic job, or whatever, or the man formerly known as Prince. But with Peter Mandelson, his theme tune to me should be the Snake. Do you remember the Snake, Al Wilson? Northern Soul.
You've got me on that one, Swansea, I must admit.
Have I got you on that one? No, it's very popular. It's well, I do a few bars.
I think we can. I'll look it up. How's that, Swansea?
The Snake. It's by Al Wilson. Northern Soul. It is.
Right.
And the thing is, I just think everybody is sort of. I think Peter Mandelson. I think Mandelson. The Prince of Darkness. It's fantastic. It's these are characters. Giles, and this is what makes Britain great.
That's an original take on it, Swansea. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Anyway, I by the way, Rex. I used to know Rex in Wales, and he was a. Are you still there? Oh, he was a boxer.
I'm here.
Oh, Rex, right? It's Swansea Jack.
Yes, Swansea Jack.
I always like to hear your dulcet tones.
Right.
You're very kind. I appreciate that.
I know I'm very kind. So are you, actually. I used to know a Rex in Wales. He was a boxer, very amiable,
right? Well,
and always friendly. He had 4 legs.
Thank you very much. Very good indeed.
Rex.
I don't mind.
He always reminds me of you, or you always remind me of him, or whatever.
Well,
anyway, all the best. Anyway, as Giles' Welsh grandmother would say, and there he was gone.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your... Thanks for
very nice.
Right, Giles.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Take it easy. All right, 952784000. Ah, yes, indeed.
Well,
we're a broad church here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. What was somebody saying? Does Rex and Swansea Jack need a room? I blame. So, Viewpoint? Yes, go on. Sorry.
Rex is obviously has always been predominantly a dog's name, as it's short and clipped. But also it is the name of the most commonly used name for cinemas in France. And in Kingston,
yes.
I was driving through Kingston the other day, unfortunately, and there was a cinema called the Rex, which I thought was a great compliment.
Yes.
But I've been told now by the younger generation that Rex this year has become rather a fashionable name for boys. So there we are. As long as it beats Muhammad as the most popular name.
Yes, as Andreas would say, because he's obviously canvassing.
I would be very, very flattered, I can assure you.
Yes, indeed. Right, where were we? Somebody's come in here saying, why does Viewpoint always attract the nutters? And they're blaming the host. Okay. Rex means, of course, king in Latin.
Correct.
So, indeed, right. Where was
and it's a royal. It's royal, of course.
Of course. Where were we?
Well, a king is royal.
Yeah.
That's
so. Is that why you're a royalist?
No.
I've got another call coming in, thank goodness. All right, 952784000. It's descending into morning call. You're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Charles, it's Gary again.
Yes, Gary.
Doesn't Rex mean king?
Correct, Gary. We just established that, as in Tyrannosaurus.
And also, with regards to Swansea Jack's comment, surely it's got to be Trust in Me from Jungle Book, the snake.
Ah, thank you. All right, well, let's...
And also, finally,
yes?
please scratch this. I'll take it you will be touching upon the BAFTAs controversy with the N-word this week.
Yes.
No, I didn't think so. Too hot.
Yes, that's another BBC thing. Yes, Gary.
I was going to say, why would you ask someone to one of those events when you know they're going to be unpredictable? If they were in a wheelchair, they wouldn't have made such a big controversy out of it. But I really can't understand.
But it was because of the film, the content of the winning film was the major subject. And, I've met people with Tourette's, and it is the most unfortunate condition you can possibly have.
For those who... Andres, are you...
kind of, yes. I know.
Gary,
the guy with Tourette's was in the...
audience,
in the audience.
I saw that the American channels were apologising for the language used during the broadcast. So I put A and B together, and he gave me a C.
What I can't understand is that why is it's used so readily in a certain culture on their music? Why is it some people can use the word?
There's a very famous Viz thing about that, Gary, and it's like, how come they can use it in public?
I can feel you trembling, Giles, from here. But what most people don't understand is that it's spelt two different ways. One begins with ER, and the other one finishes at ER, and the other one finishes in A.
Yes,
anyway,
indeed.
I'll let you take your finger off the fader, and I shall leave you now. Bye bye.
Thank you, Gary, for leaving me with a ticking time bomb as always. Right then.
Giles, with regards to that episode,
yes.
I watched the BAFTAs the other night. And I knew I wasn't aware that the winning film would be covering the subject of Tourette's, but I knew that there was somebody who in the audience who was suffering from Tourette's, because when you heard the shout out, and then of course you put two and two together, but in a way it's reverse publicity that you actually had a real person suffering from that terrible affliction, demonstrating live to the world what the affliction is.
Yeah, one of the problems was,
and it depends how you look at it. You mustn't look at it in a derogatory way or a detrimental way. You've got to look at it in a sympathetic way.
Yeah, indeed. One of the things was was it a live broadcast?
Live. Well, it's actually it's live, but in arrears.
Yeah.
So they start filming early, but they don't edit it. And I thought they did edit it, which is why they film early, but they don't. They film early so that the stars can go out and have dinner.
But the thing was,
they start
mid-afternoon. The thing is, they could have cut out that particular. I don't really. Yeah, if anybody says this word, we're going to be in so.
No, we don't say the word. You don't have to say the word.
Clarification here. What is life but in arrears?
Well, this. Yeah.
No, I get it.
It's live and in arrears. No, in other words,
if it's live but in arrears, it's not live.
It's live. It was a live segment, but shown in arrears.
Yeah.
What I mean.
Delayed transmission, I think, is what...
It was delayed transmission. Thank you, Giles. That is correct terminology.
That is why I get
Thank you so much.
I get the big bucks.
I got it the first time round. I was just being precautious.
No, that's fine.
Delay. There you go. Richard knows about this thing. So
delayed transmission.
Delayed transmission. And
so,
yes, go on.
I don't think it was such a terrible thing. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Well, yes, indeed. And you couldn't say, well, I'm sorry, but this gentleman or lady or whatever can't come in because they're suffering from this condition. I mean, if they came in, if it had been Oliver Reed back in the day who shouted it out, then we would have had a different problem. But
they had somebody was interviewed, a young lady was interviewed live on the radio yesterday.
Yeah,
and she had Tourette's.
Yes,
and she suffers the same, but not as severe as the person in the audience at the BAFTAs.
Yes.
But as she was being interviewed live on, I think, Radio 4, I was listening to it in the car, she goes, all the twitches all the time, but no bad language. But you know that they suffer from Tourette's.
Indeed.
Because they make an uncontrolled noise.
A sort of clicking and whooping noise. Talking of which, we've got calls coming in, which 952-788-4000. Morning caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Morning, Giles. Peter.
Hello, Peter.
Morning, Peter.
Morning. I agree with what you just said there about the guy with the Tourette's syndrome. For once, I would agree with the BBC, but the trouble is they just can't decide, can't get it right. Where they put everybody in boxes, and you want to protect somebody in their box, normally someone else gets offended in another box, so you just can't win. But the guy with the Tourette's had to leave that, and by the way, there was a 2-hour delay on it, so they could have blanked it out. But why should they? It's a condition he has. It's a condition he lives with. He lives within the world, and that's what happens. So why should they apologise for it? And anyone who gets upset by it doesn't have sympathy for the poor guy. And he actually left the building and said that it was people around him were getting uneasy, therefore he felt he had to leave early. Why should he do that? Would you do that to someone in a wheelchair or any other condition? You wouldn't, would you? And just because he used that word doesn't mean that doesn't mean anything whatsoever. The condition is, and I know someone used to have it, or not used to have it, he had it, but passed away now. But the condition...
But hasn't that done so much good for the condition? The film winning the BAFTA and what actually happened has put that condition right up in the limelight. And a lot of people know about Tourette's.
The guy had made a documentary before, and if anyone knows the guy, why didn't they use him in the movie? That would have been real. Then they could have used him in the movie, and he could have said what he actually... But what people don't understand about Tourette's is they think that when they shout out some sort of word like that, or some description, or some derogatory remark, they seem to think that that person's really thinking that, but that's not how it works. We all think things. There's all words going on in our head, and if they just screamed out all the time, then we'd think, why is he saying that? Why is he saying that? But it's not. It doesn't work like that with Tourette's. And the BBC should have said, no, he was there on merit. He was there. He was an invited guest, and if you feel uncomfortable around him, that's your problem, not his. That's what they should have been doing.
He obviously.
I think what was commendable was the behaviour and the manner in which the two gentlemen presenting the awards, they did not flinch.
Yeah.
And they behaved in a really professional way. I think that's commendable as well. When they heard
certain people were commendable, but like I said, I think what they've done is they've made it a problem instead of just. BBC just said they made a statement and said there was someone in the crowd who has the condition that was Tourette's, and end of.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't deal with it, then don't deal with it. I mean, it's the same old as my mum's always said. You can't you can't give offence. You can't give offence. If someone's offended by something, it's their problem, not the person that does. We can walk away, we can turn it off, we can put our fingers in our ears. But as we'll highlight a few things. Most people
You're breaking up on us, Peter, again. Sorry.
Well, most people are ignorant to it and will remain ignorant to it. So I don't think it's going to change you.
All right, Peter, thanks for the call in there. Okay. Always good to hear from you. I've got some more bits and pieces coming in on the WhatsApp if you want to get involved with today's show.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
So, the circle of life now. Paul has sent me through Viz's King of Swearing Dictionaries. And of course, it's Roger Melly, the guy on the telly, and it's Profanisaurus Rex, it's called. This is genius. Fully updated and expanded edition, twice as big and sweary, with 8,000 rude words and phrases. So, Viz, of course, was an absolute staple in the 90s.
Someone's taken my name in vain.
Well, it's just that because there was a classic Viz that said when Gary was about to drop me in it from a great height with the N word, and he said, how come some people can use it and whatever, and there was a famous Viz letters which they used to make up saying how come that they can use it in rap music, but if I use it when I'm watching my 7-year-old play football, I get escorted off the pitch. Meanwhile, moving swiftly, I've got lots of comments on this. So, this one, he didn't shout out, great movie, okay. Meanwhile, they managed to edit out Free Palestine, so why not the N word? Part of the award-winning filmmaker's Akinela Davis Jr. speech, okay. Meanwhile, adult discussion, yes, Gary, adult discussion, all due to me, indeed, doffing of caps. People love to get offended. Probably the same people that feel sorry for Andrew. People do not have the right not to get offended. Okay. And this one, BBC engineers were outside the venue and didn't hear it as he wasn't mic'd up. The guy who shouted support for Gaza was mic'd, and they heard that and took it out of the show. So,
interesting.
Indeed. Interesting indeed. To the lines we go again. Morning, caller, live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, sorry, Giles. I've got to come back. Can I just clarify something? Apparently, Jamie Foxx has been quoted as saying that, he doesn't believe it. It's in someone's mind, and he said it out loud. They've taken great offence to it.
So right. What you think there wasn't something? I'm just you with who they don't think that the thing was shouted out.
James Fox.
Yeah.
The two gentlemen that were on the stage.
Yeah.
And were shouted at with the word.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they were annoyed because the BAFTAs never got back to them. I don't know if they was expected to apologise or whatever, but apparently Jamie Foxx has been quoted as saying, I don't believe it. Okay. But as I think it was Rex said it there, I think it's absolutely brilliant because it's brought a disabled situation, a person with a disability, to the forefront, and instead of taking it as it is, they've taken offence to it, which, as I say, if you listen to hip-hop, which I do regularly near my wife, it's absolutely disgusting. But there's a moral there somewhere.
Indeed. Thank you for the call in there, Gary. As always, 952 78 4000. Yes, Andres, are you going?
I'm glad that we were talking about Ukraine.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the poll. My head is now aching. Sorry. Let's go back to the poll. Do you think that Andrew Mountbatten wins? We're going to trial.
Andreas Mountbatten wins
of the Islamic Republic of whatever. 52% of you think he will. 48% of you think that he will not. One of the biggest indications of, this is on studio@tre.radio, one of the biggest indications about the future of the government is the view of the trade unions, but they've been absent by their silence. Can anyone recall at any point in history when a government has wobbled without the trade unions piling in? For the time being, the left are holding together because we all remember what happened when Thatcher came to power due to the unions running campaigns against a Labour government. That's coming in on the...
Well, there are strikes today on the rail network. I can't be precise, but I know they're striking again. There is still dissent, but you're right. It's a good comment that it's not as prevalent. The unions are rather quiet at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Everybody's sort of rather quiet. Nobody's making...
I think we're waiting for some explosion.
Well, in the meantime...
Political,
yes.
Of course.
In the meantime, we're going to go to a break and then we're back for the last half of this morning's Viewpoint.
TRE. Viewpoint with Giles Brown.
Always lively, joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo and virtually on the line by the great Rex, King of Leyland, indeed. Looking at some of the WhatsApps coming in, 952 78 4000, the phone number, of course, +34 645 9967 95. Civil service unions have been on strike for ages. London Overground strike action planned for February the 26th. So there we go. Breaking news. The Kremlin have said that the goals of Ukraine war haven't yet been achieved. Yesterday, Zelensky said that we were in World War III. Panel. I mean, are we in World War III? It's certainly not a good time to be in certain areas of the world. But
I think if America intervenes in Iran in a military way, I think that there could be something more on the horizon, which will involve many different countries.
You would think they would be airstrikes rather than anything more than that, which we saw, of course, last
before.
Yeah. So I mean, with what's been happening, I can't see them taking any other action apart from another round of airstrikes, which was supposedly, after the last lot, was supposed to have, sort of damaged Iran's capabilities beyond repair. So we will see.
I mean, I feel sorry for the Iranians if what we see on the TV and what we read about is correct, which probably it is. But on the other hand, technically, a little bit like Venezuela, what gives Trump the right to intervene? It's debatable, literally debatable.
Indeed, Andres.
Well, the right to intervene. What he did in Venezuela is one that took the oil. So that's what he did there. What he's going to do in Iran, that's a difficult one because the whole region will be affected by it. So the Middle East could trigger further problems along. So you have to tread very carefully on what you do there. With regards to Ukraine, we are in a situation where Trump has given all the cards to Putin to decide what he wants. What he wants out of it. And there is reluctance naturally from Ukraine and also from the European Union, where they see that as a threat. And again, at the very beginning of this comment on the war of Ukraine, that everybody thought it would be like a lightning kind of strike, they would take over. I was absolutely convinced that we were going for a long war. I remember 2 or 3 days into the attack, my sister, who always asked me for my opinion on international matters, because she doesn't follow it closely, said, do you think this is going to last very long, more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks? And I said to her at the time, this is going to last for years, because it's in the interest of Russia to have that situation in Ukraine, to keep putting pressure in the European Union and NATO to back off, basically, and that's his ultimate aim. So I think this conflict is going to be going on for longer. I don't think a peace deal we're anywhere near. They're too far apart on what they want. Zelensky and the European Union are, there's today in Kiev, there's the von der Leyen and other foreign ministers of the European Union supporting Zelensky on his stance. So we are on a situation where there's no light in the tunnel yet, and I think it's going to take a long time. That's my prediction. Of course, I don't have a crystal ball, so I could be wrong, but I think that it's in the interest of Putin to keep putting that kind of pressure on the European Union.
I think one of the salient questions about this whole torrid affair of the invasion of Ukraine is what do you think is going through Putin's mind? What do you think his end game is? Why did he do it in the first place? And yes, Andreas, of course you were right. It was supposed to be special forces in and out in half an hour type of thing. And it wasn't. It's 4 years later. There's a program, I think it was on or it's on tonight or whatever, with Rosenberg, the BBC Russian correspondent. Steve Rosenberg. Yeah, and he's doing on the real Russia as a result of the war. I only glanced at it briefly, the clip. You'll have to check the TV guides or whatever. But I think that might be worth watching because Russia is suffering, undoubtedly suffering. But we don't see it and we don't know the nature of the suffering, other than the fact that there are many casualties and deaths, and for any family that's got to be horrendous. So, but what is in Putin's mind? Why did he's unbalanced the world? When he went in, that was the first war for 30 years. I've said this many times on your show, Giles, and it was. He disrupted the world. But he has a lot to pay for.
You see, Rex, if Putin had gone in and in 24 hours taken Ukraine, he would have been in a situation, he was invading a country that has had 30 years of sovereignty, and he would have had much more than half of the people against that new regime. They would have been fighting to recover their independence constantly. So he wouldn't have gained much with that. Instead, he has taken a section where there's not going to be the population there are not going to be quite rebellious because they are pro-Russian, most of them. So it's got a majority of people supporting the situation of the Russians being in there. And at the same time, it's kept the tension with the West, so they back off. Because his ultimate aim, I imagine, is to recover the influence in Eastern Europe, which he lost, obviously, when the Berlin Wall came down.
Right.
Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think that suits him to have that kind of pressure on Western Europe, and it's not in his interest to take the whole country because Why would you take a country that's again? I mean, it's happened before, when the Germans were in France, they got the resistance and everything else. It would be the same in Ukraine, because people in Ukraine, especially in the West, Kiev and around there, are going to be against the Russians invading the country and going to boycott whatever they want to do there. So it's going to be an untenable position for them constantly having to control the whole country, and it's a big country. Instead, he's got, sort of kind of a supportive intrusion into their sovereignty, but at the same time keeping a strong pressure on Western Europe, who for Putin is its ultimate enemy.
I mean, you could...
Now, Giles, I'm going to lighten it up, but still very pertinent to our conversation.
Right.
We're going down the gastro route now, my forte. Ukraine... I think they described it years ago as the breadbasket, or one of the biggest food suppliers in the world.
Indeed.
Full of natural resources, supplying everything to everybody. But there is one downside for me, a serious downside.
Tell me.
And the downside is as follows, and I'm sure there's people out there that would agree with me. And my message is read the packet. What has happened is sunflower oil production has diminished as a result of the war, of that particular war. And Ukraine was providing most of us with our sunflower oil for use in many, many, many different products. Now, when you go to the supermarket and you pick up a product, what does it contain? Not sunflower oil, which was good for you and tasted wonderful, but that ghastly rapeseed oil, which was invented by the Americans as a lubricant for engines. And we're eating it by the gallon. It is vile. It repeats on you. And you always know when you've had rapeseed as an ingredient, because you taste it hours later. And it is vile. And every item I pick up in the supermarket, if I see rapeseed, even Marks and Spencer, everybody's putting rapeseed into everything. It's horrible.
Aren't you crushing your own olives?
The downside.
Aren't you crushing your own olives, Rex? I mean, we here in Spain, we are looking after this.
Well, in Spain,
don't consume anything else but olive oil.
You are absolutely right.
Especially if it comes from Spain. It's the best for your health.
You're right.
And best for taste and everything else.
But unfortunately, the large manufacturers of ready-made foods that you buy in the supermarket, I'm not sure if it's as prevalent in Spain as it is in the UK, but actually, when you all go out later, go to the supermarket, pick up a product like coleslaw or any pre-prepared product and see how many of them contain rapeseed.
Well, somebody's saying to me, is Rex confusing palm oil with rapeseed?
No. Right. Palm oil is something completely different. And the fact of why people object to palm oil is the destruction of the environment when they plant the palms to produce the product. Because the product itself is fine, but nothing is as abhorrent as a rapeseed oil.
Okay.
And why are we eating a motor lubricant? I mean, it's horrible. Right. Think about it. It's not good.
We've got people coming back saying rapeseed oil is good for you generally, can reduce blood levels of cholesterol and low-density lipoprotein, LDD, 2 risk factors for cardiovascular diseases, and may help reduce body weight, Rex. So apparently. So let's... Right.
Anyway, I just thought I'd chuck that one in, Giles.
Yes. Someone there checking Wikipedia, no?
Just
because it's used as a biodiesel is irrelevant. Okay? See, it's an...
It repeats on you, though. It tastes ghastly.
It tastes
horrible. You burp it up. It's horrible.
All right, thank you for the graphic details there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want to say that, but that's what I meant.
That's quite. Listen, if you listen, we here on Viewpoint, it's local, national, international, or indeed whatever is coming.
I'm woke finding.
You're woke finding in the oil.
Rapeseed oil.
Right, here's something coming up. We're going back to so in the Ukraine debacle extension of NATO eastwards and interventions by the US and their politics, Victoria Nuland et al. Has nothing to do with the Russian response. Interesting viewpoint by your panel. Well, yeah, I mean, this is the trope about obviously, because Russia was worried about NATO getting into Ukraine, therefore they were justified to invade. I tell you one thing about
that's true.
What's true?
The threat of NATO in Ukraine. That was one of the
NATO and the European Union, because
the
Ukrainians really wanted to join the European Union.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
and Russia got the tremors. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, all of this is speculative, as you know, Giles, because obviously none of us are inside the mind of Putin. So with the information that we receive, we sort of create a picture, and you could create a different picture to mine. But I think that I'm on the right track with the analysis that I've done just a minute ago. But of course, we'll never know exactly what Putin thinks, because only Putin knows.
Here's the thing, panel. Because perhaps at the beginning he thought it was going to be, to quote William White's law, a short, sharp shock, and in and out and whatever. But it has turned into something quite different. However, this works for him, because now he can say that if you don't support the aims in the war, in the Ukraine war, you are therefore not being a true patriot. So it gives him the ability to be even more autocratic than normal. I mean, people have forgotten about the Wagner Group trying to march on Moscow before their leader unfortunately got into a plane, and it hasn't been popular. However, since he got rid of, once again, people falling out of windows, people having rapeseed oil in their sushi, whatever else, it's the perfect excuse, because he can say we're at war. The young conscripts who are dying in their thousands because of the tactics are great heroes to Russia, and therefore he can brook even less dissent than he normally would do.
On a lighter note, again, does anybody know what's happened to Putin's villa in Zagaleta, or near to Zagaleta? I think allegedly he's got a villa. It's in somebody else's name.
He has allegedly had a villa there. And good morning to John Clark, because actually I saw him up by the dam, the Ghost Dam, the other day. So I knew that they were in trouble when he was doing a live report from the porous dam, saying it's going to break at any time. Spoiler alert, it didn't. I have no idea what's happening with. The majority of people have fled to Dubai or somewhere like that, I think is the general consensus on that one, Rex. So
okay. So
and change the Russian number plates to Ukrainian ones. How's that for a riposte? Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Indeed.
I never believed. I don't know about this villa. Supposedly he's got a villa in Zagaleta.
I think somebody else.
If that's true or not, but. In 2003, the first time I came to Marbella, I remember a guy was driving around, and he pointed at a nice-looking villa in the distance, and he said to me, "That's Elton John's villa." Yeah. And I actually believed it, and I thought, Elton John has got a villa in Marbella. Elton John has never had a villa in Marbella, but there was the sort of popular talk that if it was a nice villa, it had to be owned by someone famous, and that name dropped. I'm very careful to sort of believe that's Putin's villa or whoever, or Bill Clinton's, whatever,
I always remember Sean Connery. People used to say, that's Sean Connery's villa. Do you remember that? On the way up to Benavides, I think.
No. Sean Connery's villa was on the beach. And it was called Malibu, and now
it's a block of apartments. That was well known because that block of apartments was built on a plot where block of apartments should not be built.
Constructed.
And he moved to the Bahamas, of course.
I don't know.
He did.
Anyway, right, let's move swiftly on. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be back for the last, believe it or not, 10 minutes of Viewpoint.
Talk Radio Europe. Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe with Giles Brown.
Into the last 9 minutes of this morning's Viewpoint. If you want to get your viewpoint across in the home stretch, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Quick look at the poll. Do we think on Talk Radio Official, it's an even split. 50% of you think Andrew Mountbatten Windsor will go to trial. 50% say no. So we're even Stevens there. Just a quick look at some of the... So, was that you, Rex? Sorry, I
said you can't get closer than that as a result.
Exactly. Right. Looking at some of the WhatsApps coming in. So we have quote unquote, it's not speculative. See Putin's speech in Munich and other intergovernmental readouts. What a ridiculous remark by your panelists. Thank you so much about that. Let's not even go there with me and you.
What remark was that?
Oh, this is, who knows, Rex, to be honest with you. It's kind of been a bouncing ball all over the place today. You've ever played paddle tennis, Rex?
I think once.
Yeah,
once or twice.
Where you're trying to judge the flight of the ball. Like you're like me, you've got the hand-eye coordination of a mole, so therefore, I had no idea where the ball was going to go, and I end up swatting vainly at the air. That's what I feel like today, to be honest with you.
Well, that's good. It keeps everybody on their toes a bit, doesn't it?
I know. But meanwhile, there's more rapeseed oil stuff coming in here, Rex. You see, you've absolutely.
I hit the seed on the head, didn't I? Really?
Andres and I can sit here talking all about Slovakia, Hungary, what's happening in Mexico, Hungary blocking further sanctions, etc. And you mentioned rapeseed, and nothing comes in. And you mentioned rapeseed oil, and the internet explodes. So, it's a seed oil, like sunflower or corn oil. It comes from the seeds of a plant from the mustard cabbage family. There you go.
I'm not saying it doesn't. It's used as a lubricant.
Stop saying lubricant with such relish. It's low in saturated fat. The fat that can raise cholesterol. So it's low in saturated fat. In fact, it's the lowest amount of saturated fat of any kind at all. It just half the amount found in olive oil. Aha.
Do not criticise my olive oil.
Olive oil. Yeah, but you want Islamic olive oil. That's your problem. That's
exactly.
In the Republic. It is. It's also high in the best balance of omega-3, and omega. You see, I'm used to seeing that on Spanish TV. Omega-4. Polyunsaturated something fats.
Anyway, I did. Just to clarify one more time, I brought it to your attention from a gastronomic point of view, and that infers taste and satisfaction.
Well,
it's true.
He did say it was a gastronomical comment.
Yeah, I know. But also, it is grown in the UK, whereas palm oil...
It's rampant in the UK.
Rampant rapeseed. You had that on the bingo card today.
You drive in the countryside, you see fields of yellow rapeseed.
That's quite nice. Come on.
Yes, it's very pretty.
Very pretty, right.
But not tasting very nice. That's the thing.
Okay. Well,
right, enough.
Right, but they're chopping the jungles down for palm seed or for palm oil. That's why. That was the other comment we were getting.
Yeah, that's right. And it's wrong. But the palm oil is the product itself. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's just how it's produced.
Right. Maybe you're confusing castor oil with rape oil. No, let's get off the rape oil controversy. Honestly, some of the things that we come up with on this one. Just quickly, because we've had the Winter Olympics finish, which has got some. Michael Senker famously said the Winter Olympics should be retitled 101 Ways to Throw Yourself Off a Mountain. Throw yourself off a mountain on skis.
I really enjoyed it. I loved the whole thing. I thought it was really entertaining.
Yeah, I go back to sort of like Konrad Bartelski. That'll make you remember that one, Rex, and David Fine doing Ski Sunday. So some of the half pipe that sounds like something that you'd put your Woodbine in or something like that. Some of the new.
You remember Thorvald and Dean and the whole sensation they created and the interest in skating.
Yes, indeed.
And the largest number of medals this year ever in the Winter Olympics. So it's good. It's good stuff.
It's good. And Spain came away with downhill gold and 2 bronzes, believe it or not.
Ooh.
From Andalusia. They train in Sierra Nevada.
Yeah. I haven't followed it.
You haven't followed
I'll
it.
take your word for
enough,
that.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, I do like the Winter Olympics because it's quite contained. There aren't seemingly so many egos flying around. Going to be very interesting for other sporting events though this year, of course, because we have obviously the Summer Olympics. Oh, no, Summer Olympics aren't this year, are they?
World Cup.
World Cup, that's the one.
World
the World
Cup,
Cup's going to be interesting because you don't go to Mexico at the moment, so it could be a very...
So what is happening in Mexico? What's the latest?
Well, briefly, because we only got 2 minutes. Obviously, there's been a rather large amount of unrest because of the killing of one of the cartel, the chief cartel leader.
El Mencho.
El Mencho. Eh, what?
El Mencho.
What does El Mencho mean, for those who don't know?
Nothing.
A mensch.
A mensch.
Mensch is a man.
I just like the names that they call
Mencho.
themselves. You know, there was El Chapo, and now it's El Mencho.
You're saying that in a Croydon accent, El Chapo and El Mencho.
I know, that's how it's reported on British TV.
Yeah, and I'm being called out because there is unrest in the USA. Of course, there's unrest in the USA. We know that, so it's going to be very interesting indeed. We've got 2 minutes left. Panel, Andreas, you're going to say something?
Just a very quick one.
Go on.
I was looking at the names, all of the names named in the Epstein files. And there's a list of all of them. It doesn't mean that they're involved in.
You've got to be very careful because my restaurant was mentioned in the Epstein files.
Right. Okay.
But the one that jumped at me the most, and they are super famous people there. You know, you got Michael Jackson, you got Mick Jagger, you got Woody Allen, you got Clinton, whatever. But the one that jumped at me was Elvis Presley.
No.
Yes. Elvis Presley's Epstein files. I don't know in what capacity there, because I worked out that Epstein was 24 when Elvis Presley died. But yeah, that's the name that stood out for me from all.
Well, that's incredible.
Well, no, but there's lots of stuff. I mean, I'm going to say even the olive press are in the Epstein files for some reason.
Really?
Don't ask me how, John. But also because it also revealed that Epstein had really liked Michael Bublé's music, so he's in there as well. So there's so much stuff to go through. They'll still be sifting through it in another 10 years' time. But
well, just to terminate the conversation, sort of where we started, it'll be interesting to see which heads will fall in America.
Indeed.
We've got 2 major heads falling here.
Yes.
What will happen in America? How good will they be to bring people to justice who deserve to be brought to justice?
Indeed. 51% of you think that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor will not go to trial, so 49% think he will. So that's the poll. Almost out of time. It's been a pleasure and a privilege, as always. A wide range of subjects here on Viewpoint. Rex, thank you so much for your time today.
It is a pleasure, as always, Giles, and Andreas. Always a pleasure to talk to you. I'm sorry about the non-live appearance, but beware, I might just pop down.
We shall be in our best bib and tucker.
Thank you, Rex.
Andreas,
thank you, Giles.
As always, this programme will be repeated at 6 o'clock. Stephen Ritson is up next.
The views expressed on Viewpoint by invited studio guests and callers do not constitute an opinion endorsed in any way by Talk Radio Europe.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.